Welcome, football fans. Buckle up for another hard-hitting episode of Player 54 Podcast, an independent show focused solely on alternative and opportunity football. From a sunny Southwest Florida studio, here is your host, Michael Lathrop.
Hello, football fans. This is episode 124, Professional Arena Football coming to Arkansas. This cooler and crisp air just reminds me of football weather. Well, to be fair, being a native of the Northeast and a longtime fan and supporter of traditional fall football, this time of the year just feels and smells like football to me. Yet to several folks, this is more than bowl season and playoff season. This is the time of the year where alternative football really begins to ramp up with player acquisitions, staffing additions, as well as many unforeseen developments. Per usual, this week we have news from the alternative football world to share. In addition, the Arena League's Hot Spring Wise Guys general manager Chris Goodman joins the show to discuss the league, launching the team, and more. But first, we have those football developments to cover. So, let's get to it.
Did you hear the news? Did you hear the news?
On December 9th, the International Football Alliance, in partnership with Lights Out Sports, announced an exclusive weekly Coaches Corner hosted by former NFL linebacker Sean Merriman. Merriman, the founder of the network, will provide a show full of questions, insight, no BS, and no fluff. On December 10th, the Arena League's Hot Spring Wise Guys announced Bones Baganti as the team's first head coach. Also on December 10th, International Football Alliance's San Antonio Calaveros announced Dr. Jack Welch as the team's new general manager, as well as assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. I must note, the league and the team have reported a variation to the general manager title designation. The team has general manager, and the league has general manager of operations. Once we get clarification, I will provide an update. Also on December 10th, the United Football League, in partnership with Upper Deck, unveiled its inaugural set of UFL trading cards. On December 12th, Vice Media announced the launch of a sports division, which will include more than 50 hours of programming. It is also shifting its cable-based Vice TV to a sports-first approach. Arena Football One joined several other sports-based productions and podcasts as the network's 100 hours of sports programming. Also on December 12th, the Professional Arena Independent Association announced the Knoxville Bandits are no longer a member of the league and will not participate in the 2025 season. On December 13th, the International Football Alliance's Baltimore Lightning announced its broadcast deal with Sinclair Broadcasting. The deal includes thousands of multimedia advertising spots on Baltimore Fox 5, CW Baltimore, as well as a game broadcast on MyTV Network. On December 14th, the International Football Alliance's Ohio Valley Ironmen announced quarterback James Franklin as the team's first signing. As I have previously mentioned, we will now be joined by the Arena League's Hot Spring Wise Guys general manager Chris Goodman to discuss the league, launching the team, and more. Welcome, Chris. I appreciate taking the time to appear on the show to discuss the Arena League and launching the Wise Guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. I love getting into all these different spaces within the football ecosystem. Chris, sorry, believe it or not, you are the first guest who appeared on this show that is tied to the Arena League, and you just happen to be affiliated with a new team. So thank you for gracing the show, because I believe those tuning in are likely not as knowledgeable or may not have any knowledge of the Arena League, and especially that they have expanded. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a brief moment, Chris, just to maybe provide us with a Cliff Notes version of the league's background and the Wise Guys.
Yeah, so the league started in 2023, and then they played the first season this past summer in 2024. They started with the four original teams of the Ozark Lunkers, Iowa Woo, Duluth Harbor Monsters, and then the Kansas City Goats. As you mentioned, we are a new expansion team in Hot Springs, Arkansas, as well as the Eau Claire Axemen in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So we're moving to 6 teams for 2025. Season set to start May 31st for 2025, and then we'll go through August. And then the league, as of right now, hopes to expand more. We can't talk too much about it, but the league is moving in a really positive and a really good direction right now.
It's kind of interesting because there's arena football, there's indoor football, but then we see all these differences within the leagues. Even doesn't matter if they have the arena tag to them or indoor, whether they have, Ironman ball or the back nets. You guys, or the arena league, is very different with that. Could you just share with them what that difference is as far as back net and whatnot?
Yeah, so one of the biggest differences is we don't have any kickers in our league. So there's no need for the net. There's no need for the field goal post. There's no need for that. We play, as of right now, a 6 versus 6 style of play. So it's a lot faster paced. We kind of joke around as it's a basketball style of play that we try to keep up, where it's lots of scores. One team in our league scored 99 points this past season. So that's, we try and keep it at that where, guys are really entertained. The offenses are high flying. And it's just a lot of fun to watch and be a part of. There are some changes coming down the line with the league that I myself am not at liberty to say, but I think a lot of people that watch our teams and watch our league will be really entertained. They'll really like it. Of course, it's not for everybody, and we totally understand that. Not everybody's going to enjoy what we do. But for those that do, I think they'll find that it's unique and it's something that can really, people can really rally behind and support.
You had alluded to the expansion, and I even shared that you guys are the new team, the new kids on the block, so to speak, right? So seeing that the league just completed its inaugural season, and so we're just a matter of months ago that the 2 new teams were essentially announced, even though it wasn't really much of a kept secret by any means, but a formal announcement came out that we have Eau Claire and Hot Springs as the newest members. So bringing the league to 6 teams, I think now it starts to build a little bit more legitimacy, right? Starting with 4 teams, 6, as you're starting to see that growth, and more teams usually means, okay, I'm not playing the same team over and over again. Oh, didn't we just play these guys? So I think that starts to build that, and I think that's always good to show growth, and getting into new markets, and it kind of just gets more eyes on the product, so to speak. So obviously Arkansas is a little bit further away from where the other 4. I'm not trying to act like you guys are super far away, but it was very much closer before. So now those tentacles are so to speak are being spread out. So I know it's a young league, and I know it's fairly new concepts and stuff like that. Can you just kind of tell us what it means to be one of the 6 now and being a little bit further out, for Arkansas more so? What do you think this is going to mean for your market and your fan base?
Yeah, so it definitely means a lot. If anybody listening or you yourself is familiar with Arkansas, they know it's the Razorbacks, and that's it. We got nothing else here. So to have a professional team now coming into this market and into this state where fans here are so passionate about sports. I grew up here, born and raised in Arkansas. Go to Razorback games every season. I know what it means to support something that this state has. So bringing a professional team here, and then hopefully we can get some players that are from the state playing for the team. Arkansas is a very prideful state. We take care of our own. We support our own. So having a football team here now that's professional, that's representing the state on a national stage professionally, it's going to mean a lot to the state as a whole, and then to the community of Hot Springs, which is already known for a lot of gangster history and a lot of travel tourism. Giving them a professional team that they can call their own and promote now is going to be huge for that community. And then Little Rock is just an hour away where I live currently. So, we'll draw from Little Rock, we'll draw from Pine Bluff, another big key city in the state. So people are going to be surprised at just what Arkansas can do and have here, and then this level of support and enthusiasm that'll come from this state.
I think it's always intriguing how new areas come about. And so I don't know how much you can share, but obviously things take a little while. So I don't know when you kind of got into the picture here on this launch of a franchise. So can you just kind of share with us maybe when did this come about? How did it come about? Because not everyone's stories, how they get into a role on a new franchise, a fairly young league, they always seem to be slightly different. So I'm intrigued, Chris, to kind of learn yours. How did this opportunity present itself, and what actually drew you to actually saying yes to the opportunity?
Yes, so, said I'm born and raised here in Arkansas, and then I played football in high school. I wanted to go to college, much like everybody else, but I didn't. I actually ended up serving in the military for 8 years. Which, I'll tell anybody firsthand was needed for me. I grew up a lot, learned a lot. And then after the military, started working in construction. And then I owned a semi-pro team here in Arkansas. I played at that level and then grew to GM of the team and then grew to owning the team. So I learned a lot about the mechanics of what makes an operation work. I learned a lot about doing a lot more with a lot less. And then around the beginning of this year, 2024, I really became a fan of the Arena League itself. Was going to go to a couple of Ozark Lunkers games. And then they started talking about expansion and named Hot Springs as one of the cities that could possibly get a franchise. So I went full force with a group of friends of mine and trying to gain support in getting people to vote for Hot Springs to get a team. Then it came out that Hot Springs got the team, and I said, you know what, this is a unique opportunity. This is my chance to really see what I can do, step out there and run a professional organization. Had a lot of great conversations with the league, Tommy Benizio and Jeff Holmes. Mr. Benizio is a consultant to the league. Jeff Holmes actually owns the league, and we're commissioned by Tim Brown, Hall of Famer from the Raiders. So those guys really, stressed me and made sure I was a correct fit. We had a lot of conversations about, what I would do when I took control, and then got the phone call that I was hired. And then ever since then, I've done a lot of good work out here to get things up and running, and it's been pretty awesome.
Speaking of that work, anytime a new team comes in, when there's already established franchises, those teams have coaching staffs. I'm not saying that changes don't happen, rosters, right? And they kind of have their way of doing things. It's just a matter of who do you bring back, who do you don't. But they have a foundation. And here you are, new team, fairly young league. You're trying to establish something in Arkansas that hasn't typically been there, right? So there's a lot going on. And you mentioned a lot. So, just this week, you guys announced Bones, as your head coach. Sorry, let me get his last name out there. Kind of just saying Bones because it's so unique. Baganti, right? I want to make sure I got pronouncing it right. I know, sometimes people don't get, but Bones Baganti is now the head coach. Can you just walk us through some of those things that you've been working on to get to obviously now Bones being announced as head coach?
Yeah, so a lot of it was just the getting your hands dirty, building the foundation. I mean, every team, every organization is not going to last if you don't have a good, solid foundation. The league was very hands-on and working with me on getting a solid foundation set. We've got a lot of great partnerships out there, that I'm really proud of that are coming our way. We've got some down the line that are going to be absolutely amazing. We've got some signed already with the likes of Bud Light and Ghost Energy that are huge. And then Coach Bones, man, I mean, there's a lot that could be said there. He's an awesome guy. Whenever I first put out there that we were going to look for a head coach, I knew, the people of Arkansas, if we want this to be successful, first off, as a team, I'm going to have to go get, kind of like what Arkansas basketball did. They went and got John Calipari. I'm going to have to go get a guy of that status who's really known, who's really respected in arena football. And there was a couple of guys that applied, and there was a lot of great conversations had with them. With Bones, we shared a lot of good core values of how we see this playing out, how we want to take care of players, how we want players to move on from here. So talking with him, and really setting the game plan, it almost, weeks before we hired him, it almost seemed like we had already started working. You know what I mean? We were already getting stuff done together, having some really good conversations. And then it came to this past Monday. He was like, you know what, man? He was like, let's do it. Let's get this ball rolling. And then, here it is Wednesday, and we've already had a ton of players reach out, wanting to come play for us. So, I knew if we wanted to compete in this league as a new team, that we had to go do some things that were really big, that would catch us up year one, to where these teams are going to be year two. Yeah, we haven't played a game yet, but if we can get some good partnerships behind us, get the fan support behind us, and get a head coach that knows the game the way that Bones does, having played and coached in it for a while, I think that catches us up really well.
So you talk about all these pieces, right? Obviously, coaching staff is part of it, meshing with you in the front office. That's always going to be huge. You mentioned now you got players reaching out, but you have to find that balance. There's always that balance, right? We keep hearing anything that's not the big 4 or 5 leagues, with the National Football League, leading the way, that all these other leagues that are, just multiple tiers beneath it, not a shot at it, but they try to balance local, right? They got to have some local guys there, right? Tie in the community, a little bit more buy-in, like this to make it a little bit more us, not just a name, but this is, our boys, so to speak, and things like that. But you also got to balance that. You mentioned that you want to have a team that can compete. So
Yep.
Can you kind of explain that a little bit? I don't think a lot of people always kind of get in that. You always hear this, we're going to get like a core group of guys that are local, but how do you really do it? Is that more recruiting on your end to find that local talent? Is that more just, you see who's interested and you kind of just go through? I mean, kind of just walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so I lucked out, with Coach Bones being our head coach. He already has a good network of players that he can reach out to and recruit. So he's gonna go out there and he's gonna find some national guys that are some big names to come out here and play for us, and then locally, we've got the University of Arkansas, Arkansas State, we've got Henderson State, Ouachita Baptist, we've got the D2 defending national champions in Harding University. So we've got some colleges here that a lot of people outside of Arkansas may have never heard of, other than Harding winning the national championship last year. But so we got some players here that I think can really help us, that can really compete. Then it just comes down to making sure that it makes sense for them and for us. Because one thing that me and Coach Bones really talked about is we want our players, at our organization, really taken care of while they're here. We don't want them here for long. We want a guy to come in here, and if he plays the season for us and then the NFL comes calling, hey man, go live your dreams. So what we really want to preach and find these guys that are local, but nationally, we're recruiting everywhere. I've had a conversation with a running back from the United Kingdom that wants to try and come over here and try out and see what he can do with us. Played rugby for a really long time, and we may do that. I'm big on giving everybody a shot because, I was once that guy that wanted a shot and it was given to me. Now I'm going to give others that same shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome because, it's kind of that don't leave any stone unturned as well. It's kind of, you just never know where the talent is and who is going to be the difference maker. But I kind of love, not just local, but really looking international, because we see the game essentially blowing up, not just here more stateside with all the indoor and arena leagues and all the various alternative football leagues in the spring and summer now. But I mean, it's blowing up internationally. It's really starting to happen with especially the ELF and whatnot. So I kind of like that idea because the game's being played and there's players everywhere. It's just a matter of getting your eyes on it. So that's awesome. You got players from overseas reaching out. That kind of tells you your tentacles are a little bit further reaching than probably even realized initially. So that's a great sign for, this new team. So, a a lot of teams, speaking, have already got players, and I don't know how soon and how close you are, but you're probably starting to sit down with Coach Bones, and you're kind of really getting more of an idea of who and how close do you think you are to having player announcements and starting to really get that roster becoming more intact?
Yeah, I'd say for right now, the way our league is set up, we can't officially sign anyone yet. Our market to do that hasn't opened yet, but we've got 3, 4, 5 guys that we've really had some good conversations with that we think they'll come in and they'll help us. We can't say any names right now, unfortunately, because of the way the league is set up. But they're guys that I think people will know, and they'll be like, oh, okay, like they're actually building a real roster here. So I'd say January, hopefully at the latest, February is when we'll start announcing some guys that they're going to come out here and help us win.
Yeah, I mean, I just know anybody that's in the space to be like, it's tough not to compare certain leagues, right? Be like, oh, this league's announcing boom, 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 boom. This league's announcing boom, boom, boom. And does that make you fear in any way that, it might make it harder coming down the stretch? Or do you just feel like those conversations have been that solid, that in depth, that you're really on the right path?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of unique in the way that I view it, and a little bit different than other GMs out there in this level. Because the way I view it is, if we lose a player and he's getting signed somewhere else, and it's a good fit for him and the organization, then I couldn't be happier for him. I've
Right.
told these guys, and I told Coach Bones when we were trying to hire him, I was like, I'm not going to ask you to wait on us. If there's a better opportunity out there for you, by all means, go take it. So yes, I would like all these guys to come sign and play for us, but if they sign somewhere better, then more power to them. Now, if they sign with a different team in our league and now I got to play against them, then that's going to be a little different. But I
Right.
I would anybody that talks to me or comes through our organization, I wish nothing but the best for. So I'm not super competitive in that aspect. But I also feel that some of the conversations we have with these guys that they'll probably end up coming to play for us.
It's a business. I get it. And that's the only reason why I asked is because sometimes no, we have some good faith handshakes, whatever. And sometimes I get that could be in place, and maybe teams are really more further along than paper may ever dictate our announcements. And that's kind of just the thing. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Chris. So it's just sometimes, people are just kind of curious. Okay, well, where are we? Especially if they're like, oh, and I just hope my team's going to be competitive because, these other teams have had guys from last year. It's easier just to kind of re-ink them, so I get some of the fears sometimes, but it's not like you're going up against a dynasty of sorts, where a coach has been around, players have been around for a long time. So you guys do have that. So I know you guys just released your schedule a little while back. Can you just share with those that may not be aware what that timeline looks like? You mentioned January, maybe, with February coming out, with some player announcements, potentially with what, could you kind of just share some timeline of what people can expect?
Yeah, so January, February, is hopefully right here close to Christmas, we can start announcing some guys. It just depends on what the league will allow us to do. And then we'll roll into February, March. We'll really, start trying to really get guys locked down. And, we got tryouts coming up January 11th that are free agent, completely open tryout. So if there's any players watching or listening that think they have what it takes, come on out, man. It's free and open for everybody. And then, into March, going into April and May. April, it will, hopefully we'll have our team signed. We'll have who we want. And then they'll report to camp at the beginning of May. We'll roll through camp. We'll keep who we want. We'll cut who, we don't want, and hopefully send them to some different teams. And then May 31st, we'll officially throw off and start the season. We'll run an 8-game season up until the end of July, and then we'll have playoffs in August. I believe it's only a one-round playoff. The top 4 teams make it, and then we'll have the championship game. That's
just the way to do it. It's still giving 2 teams to buy. Everyone's in. Got to make the regular season count. I like that. So good deal. Sometimes you can have a team that really stinks, and all of a sudden they just click the very end, that this doesn't seem right. They're holding the trophy when it's all said and done. So I like
Yeah.
that. Top four. That's good. Well, Chris, I don't want to take up too much of your time here. So before we wrap things up, I like to provide people an opportunity because there's usually a lot going on out there. Maybe there's certain things that you feel are very important to get out there about the team that maybe I didn't ask, that didn't kind of lead down that path. So I want to give you a soapbox moment so you can get up there and whatever it is that you feel needs to be said before we wrap things up that you think would be in the best interest of the wise guys in the league.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that we're a transparent organization. I'm not afraid to answer any questions, and if I can give the answer, I'll give it. I don't want to be an organization where people always question what's going on or why are they doing this, why are they doing that. I spent 8 years in the military and got questioned quite a lot on decisions that I made and had some tough conversations with people. So I know how to do that, and I know just specifically here in Arkansas, being transparent, being open with people, being friendly, that's kind of who we are. So I want the people of Arkansas to know that, just I'm an Arkansan like them. Don't be afraid to ask a question about the organization. Don't be afraid to ask a question about arena football. I'm never going to, shy away from a conversation. And then also, if fans are nervous or anybody out there is nervous about what kind of team we're going to put together, just know that, I had teams and coaches from the IFL thanking me that I got Bones out of there so they didn't have to play against him anymore. So I think great coach. He's going to get some great players, and we're going to be a pretty great team.
That sounds good. Well, I look forward to tuning in to the season to see how, the new teams compete against the old teams. And I think it's an interesting brand of ball. And, it's always nice to get some new twist on things because like anything, things evolve and football is no different. So, Chris, I appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure to have you appear here on the show to discuss the Hot Spring Wise Guys, the Arena League. And, if you're interested later on down in the road and you have the time, perhaps we could do this again in a few months to discuss, maybe some of those announcements and some things that are developing within the league that we weren't able to discuss today. And things that are happening with, with the team, how maybe the roster's filling out, with the season, maybe the season's underway, whatever it is. It'd be great to kind of catch back up and see, just catch up and see what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. And I know a lot of people look at the Arena League a little differently because of what we do, but just give it a chance, watch some games, and I think everybody will love it.
Well, Chris, with that, you mentioned tryouts. So you mentioned some social media. Why don't you just take a moment? Websites, social media channels, where can they watch the games? I know last year, I believe it was on their YouTube page or something like that, the Arena Leagues. But whatever it is that people are kind of eager to get some information, whether it's yourself, the team, the league, could you just kind of share some information with them?
Yeah, so our website is www.hotspringswiseguys.com. And then if you look up Hot Springs Wise Guys on any social media, we should pop up. You can shoot us a DM or ask any questions you want. If you would like to follow me, I'm Coach Chris Goodman on Instagram. That's usually what I'm most active on and how people can get a hold of me. I'm also on Twitter as well, or X, I guess it's called now. And then, if you want to reach out and ask any more serious questions, you can email me at chris@hotspringswiseguys.com. Like I said, any questions I can answer, anything people want to know about the team, I'm more than happy to talk to them.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Although it was somewhat of a brief interview, it is a pleasure to have Chris appear on the show. I believe it is important to have a diverse assortment of football professionals with ties to the leagues who make up the alternative and opportunity football ecosystem. Chris's insight to the Arena League and involvement with the Hot Spring Wise Guys helps those tuning in with an opportunity to learn more about the league and what it has to offer. I look forward to keeping in contact with Chris, and I hope to have another opportunity later on down the road to touch base. Before we wrap things up, it's time to share those upcoming events. On December 28th, Arena Football 1's Arizona Bandits will conduct an open tryout at Pinnacle High School in Phoenix, Arizona. Registration begins at 10 a.m. local time, where the tryouts will take place from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The pre-registration fee is $50, and day of registration is $75. On January 4th, Arena Football One's Wilkes-Barre Football will host an evaluation camp at Misericordia University Sports Dome. The event will be limited to 75 participants. Interested players can register at playforwb.com. On January 5th, the International Football Alliance's Tampa Bay Tornadoes will conduct its final tryout at Leto High School in Tampa, Florida, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. local time. Registration is at 9 a.m. with a $75 cash-only fee to participate. On January 18th, the International Football Alliance will host its official combine in Dallas, Texas. Players interested in participating must register at ifa.football/draft-tryout. On January 25th, the Professional Arena Independent Association holds its live player draft at Core Steakhouse in Atlanta, Georgia. Also on January 25th, the Arena League's Ozarks Lunkers will host an open tryout at Allison Sportstown in Springfield, Missouri. Check-in begins at 1:30 p.m. local time. For additional information, visit ozarklunkers.com/tryouts/. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in this week. I hope you have all found the information helpful and today's guest informative. I look forward to having you all back next week for an all-new episode of Player 54 Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into today's show. You can support the show and our partners by using code PLAYER54 at checkout at any of the following websites: RoyalRetros.com, where you can save 15%, TrueVictory.com, where you can save 15%, BuckedUp.com, where you can save 20%, ImpactMouthguards.com, where you can save 10%, HobbyArmor.com, where you can save 5%, JustMeatJerky.com, where you can save 10%. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and rate Player 54 Podcast on your platforms of choice. Do you have a question or topic you would like to have discussed on the show? Message us via social media or send an email to player54podcast@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning into today's show. You can support the show and our partners by using code PLAYER54 at checkout at any of the following websites: RoyalRetros.com, where you can save 15%, TrueVictory.com, where you can save 15%, BuckedUp.com, where you can save 20%, ImpactMouthguards.com, where you can save 10%, HobbyArmor.com, where you can save 5%, JustMeatJerky.com, where you can save 10%. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and rate Player 54 Podcast on your platforms of choice. Do you have a question or topic you would like to have discussed on the show? Message us via social media or send an email to player54podcast@gmail.com.